Hi friends, welcome back to my channel. Today we are doing the ultimate bronzer guide / ranking. So I asked you over on Instagram and here, what did you want to see in a bronzer video? I heard the word swatches, comparisons, and ranking floating quite a bit. So there are timestamps down below. I have done the ultimate guide. So this is going to be broken down into creams and liquids, powders, cool toned, warm toned, matte, satiny. It's really comprehensive, so please go ahead and check the timestamps to peruse through. But at the end of this, if you still have questions, which you might, if you want to see just like a more concise top 5 or top 10, leave that down in the comments below. But let's go ahead and get started. But before we do, let's take a second to grab our iced coffee or a hot coffee. Let's take a sip and let's get started. We will begin with the cream liquid bronzers. So the first one here is the Victoria Beckham Stylus. This looks like a little pen like this, and it does feel nice. The packaging does feel nice. Now, this is the shade called Marble. So I purchased this online, and this was the one that looked the most cool toned, but when I apply it, I find that it kind of looks a little bit red or warm on me, but it does have a little bit of a creamy texture. That's why it's here in the cream liquid section. And this is what it looks like. It is nice if you want really precise contour or bronze action because it is very, very small. It would be good for travel because it would just fit very nicely here. So this is what it looks like. It looks nice, feels nice, but it's at the bottom here because I just have many other great products. So the next one here is the NARS Bronzing Cream in the shade Laguna. This is the original flavor, original color here. So this is quite nice. And the reason it's towards the bottom here is, quite frankly, I have a lot of products that I like. And here we can see a pretty stark difference between warm and cool. The Laguna bronzer will definitely be more neutral, cool leaning. And you can see the difference here with the Victoria Beckham Marble. It just looks more red based in comparison. The texture of the NARS product is very creamy and it takes very little effort to pick up product. Some cream products are almost more solid. I've had this for a year or two. It still feels incredibly buttery. As soon as you put your finger in, it really just picks up product. Next up is the Charlotte Tilbury Contour Wand in Fair Medium. So the reason that this and the NARS product are here is because I just quite frankly don't think of them. But I actually quite enjoy this Charlotte Tilbury wand because I love how cool toned it is. And it's also very easy to apply. This is a very generous swatch here, but this is really nice if you want something more neutral, cool leaning here. You can just see that it's not going to add any warmth, any orange, any red, anything like that. I just, quite frankly, I don't think of it for some reason. I just have a lot of other products and I often don't think of this. I think of this more in the winter time. When I want something a little bit cooler and not maybe as bronzy orangey, but it is a very good product. It's competing with a lot of other items here. Okay, following that would be the Makeup by Mario. This is the Soft Sculpt Bronzing and Shaping Serum. So I just got this. This is the shade Light Medium. Let me show you the texture here. Oops. So it's a liquid, but it's a little bit thicker. It's like a thicker, moussey texture. So this is incredibly sheer. On me, this is like a complexion product. It's more of a primer than anything else. These are very sheer. If you want actual bronzing for this type of skin tone, you have to go at least one shade up. This, I use it really as a primer and it is nice, but I have something else here from two other brands that I just use a little bit more, to be honest. The Chantecaille Sheer Glow Bronze here. This one has a thick jello texture. It doesn't really move, it stays in place. It smells like herbal tea or something. And let me see if I can show you the texture. Like you can see, it doesn't move. It's not quite as liquidy. What is annoying is that you have to reach in like I'm doing here. And here, let's do a swatch comparison. So you can see there's a very big difference here. The Chantecaille one feels more fluid. It sort of melts into the skin a bit quicker. And you can see it's much more warm, bronzy compared to Makeup by Mario here. Moving on to the Westman Atelier Contour Stick. This is in the shade called Biscuit. And this one here is also great if you specifically want to contour, if you want something more neutral, cool leaning. This is an absolutely stunning product. This is the travel size one. It's very creamy. You know, it really takes no effort to get the payoff here. It takes very little effort. So you can sort of see a beautiful leopard print of cool and warm toned products here. Now I have two last products, and this one here from Chanel is the Les Beiges Cream Bronzer. This is the shade 390. It's the original. This one here, even though it's cream, the texture is much more firm than the NARS. The NARS sort of just like, you could sort of push your finger through like butter. This one here, you have to work it a little bit just to pick up the product here. And this is a reformulation. They redid this a couple years ago. And this is the shade here. It's definitely warmer. I think the original was more cool toned. This is warmer. And this one does have coconut derivative in it, which some people, it gives them breakouts. But it feels incredibly silky. And something about the texture really just melts into the skin very effortlessly. But the top product for the cream liquid category, in my opinion, is what I'm wearing today. And these are the Drunk Elephant Bronzing Drops. This is a liquid, but it has a little bit of a thicker texture. I'm sort of trying to find space here. So it is a liquid, but it doesn't necessarily run everywhere. You can sort of see it stays in place, it stays suspended, and it's warm without being too orange. It gives me that beautiful glow. It's incredibly natural, and when you rub it into the skin, it really just melts into the skin. It doesn't look like makeup. It doesn't look too orange. It doesn't look too bronze. It just looks really effortless. And the reason that I love it so much compared to some of the other liquid or, you know, sheer glow, these types of products, is that I just find it so easy to use. It's just a few drops, and I just find that the drops are just easier instead of having to scoop my finger in and that sort of thing. It's just very easy for everyday use. And when I purchased the new Makeup by Mario product, I thought maybe this would usurp Drunk Elephant. No, even though I have both, the Drunk Elephant one, in my opinion, is still better as this sort of liquid bronzer product. Moving on to powder bronzers. These are very classic bronzers. If you've made it to this part of the video, please leave a little green emoji inspired by my top here. So the first one here, tailing in at the end, is the Chanel Les Beiges Maxi Oversized Bronzer in the shade Sunbath Deep. This one here is just quite deep for me. You know, I like it, but it's just, I have so many other amazing ones here that have worked better. And this one here came out in a weird release that released in Canada and Australia, but not the US. It was very confusing. I think they came out with this and also highlighters. So it feels silky, it feels nice, but we just have so many other ones here. Next up is the Dior Forever Natural Bronze. This is the shade 05 Warm Bronze. Now I like this, but honestly, it's too warm. It feels orangey and red on me, so that's why it's really, you know, tailing towards the end. This is the classic standard case. I have a couple other ones from Dior, but I just wanted to show you this one here. I guess it kind of looks, it doesn't look similar to the one from Chanel. I guess the one from Chanel is definitely deeper, and this one here just looks warmer. And there's something about the back of the hand that isn't exactly true to the face here, but these are just ones that, compared to everything else, I really don't reach for. Okay, another one here towards the tail end that may be polemical, maybe controversial, but this is the Gucci bronzer. This is the shade 03. I don't know, like, I like it, but again, just with everything else that I have, it's sort of just moved towards the back of the line, And every now and then I see it again, but I'm not like, wow, I need to pull it out. Maybe after today I will, but I mean, it feels very nice. It feels very silky. It doesn't look too orange, but a little bit. The thing is, sometimes like some of these I think I purchased online, and it's just hard because sometimes they just look too warm and too orange on me, and I'm just not really into that. So let's keep going. Back to back here are the two Chantecaille Real Bronze, and these ones here are different texture. They are powder, but they're this sort of baked gelée, so you can sort of squish your finger through. It's a very nice texture. This one here is Goa, and this one here is the deeper one. It definitely pulls more reddish orange on me. I just wanted to point out the difference in texture here because it is a little bit different, but you can see it's quite deep. You know, it sort of is a bit deeper and more red than the Chanel Sunbath, but it feels very silky. You know, it's rarely a question of texture, it's just a question of tone. But this one here is the other Chantecaille Real Bronze in Serena. This one here, you can just tell, I've used this way more, and it's the same baked gelée formula. But this one here, I just find is a little bit more neutral leaning, which is nice, and a little bit softer as well. Like you can see here, I mean, it doesn't look invisible, but it looks so much lighter compared to Goa. It looks more warm, more like sun-kissed, and it's just a question of taste, but I just wanted to compare these side by side. I have my notes app here with me ready to go, and if you are not subscribed to my channel, I know many of you who watch me watch 2, 3, 4, 5, 10 videos, but are not subscribed yet. Please take the time to like this video, leave a comment down below, and make sure you are subscribed, because I think obviously if you're watching this, you're going to miss out on a lot of great content if you don't subscribe. I do lots of reviews, lots of tutorials, and I like to mix and match old and new releases. So I do buy a lot of new releases, but I don't just leave them by the wayside. I like to incorporate them with old favorites and standards that I have here on my channel. So if you're not subscribed, you're going to miss out on a lot of tutorials, and I give you lots of inspiration on how to use up what you have at home. So go ahead and subscribe. Next up is this compact here from Dior. This is the Dior Summer Bronzer, and this is called Natural Bronze Glow 031 Coral. So this one here is a 3-in-1. It's bronzer, highlighter, and blush. So what I do is when I use it, I stripe into the bronzer first, but I have noticed that this has gone hard pan. And it's taken a few weeks, but it's finally there. You can see I've been using this a lot. So I just take my brush and I go into one part first. This would be the bronzer side. And then after that, I just swirl my brush and just pick everything up like this, and I mix it here. So this one here is definitely more coral, but I do like it because it is not orange, it is not too muddy warm. It really is just like a beautiful apricot clementine look. I like this for when I want to do a slightly more coral summer look, and I do like this. I am a little bit discouraged that it is turning hard pan so soon after usage. Next up is the Chanel Les Beiges Sunset. This was a few years ago. This came out, and everything from Les Beiges is always inspired by summer, the beach, the Mediterranean, yachting, things like that. And this looks like rope you'd see on a yacht or a sail ship. So Sunset is one of the bronzers that I really think should make an appearance permanently. This is it here. It has a beautiful finish. It's a little bit satiny, a little bit luminous, but it's not like a chunky glitter. It doesn't settle into texture or things like that. It was just a beautiful bronzer, and many of you watching this today probably have Sunset. So hopefully all of these swatches will be helping you out shopping online. Moving on to Guerlain. Yes, of course. We have the Guerlain Terracotta. This is the shade 03 Medium Warm. So warning for a jump scare. This is very well loved. Originally, this is a beautiful leopard print of light and medium bronzer with a coral peachy blush and also a little bit of luminosity as well. As you can tell, this is extremely well loved. I use it and I dip it and I swirl, and I just can't get enough of it. That's why it looks like this. But if you have it at home, the first several weeks will look a lot nicer. It's just, you know, as you use it up, it'll start to look like you're using it up. And this one here is similar-ish to the one from Dior, but I think this is Dior up here. I think that the one from Guerlain is actually a little bit more orange. I think it's a little bit warmer. It just is, yeah, it just is. It's a little bit more clementine, a little bit more tangerine. So if you like this sort of blush, maybe Guerlain or Dior would be for you. Moving on to Hermès, they came out with bronzers a couple of years ago, and I heard online from a friend of a friend, a sneak peek, that Hermès will be coming out with eyeliners this year, I think in the fall, and they look really beautiful, lots of colors. Anyway, back to Hermès bronzer. This is the shade number 2, Atlas. So if you look closely, this is actually a trio of bronzer shades. There are in fact 3 colors. When you swirl them together, you get a beautiful harmony. Now, I thought that this was more cool toned than it actually is, but once you start to swatch it with everything, it does look a little bit warmer here. So let me just swatch it down here. I mean, it definitely looks more cool toned than Guerlain. That's it here. It feels soft, it feels silky, and it almost feels like nothing. This is a product that it feels like nothing on the fingers here, and also feels like nothing on the face. A lot of Hermès makeup feels like nothing. It's your skin, but better in a beautiful way. It feels very silky and smooth. And yeah, I like it a lot. I want to use it a bit more on my channel. I just keep forgetting because I have a lot of other great ones here. But I think that this one and the last 3 are tied quite equally in place here. So this one here is from RMS Beauty. This is a new contender. I bought it a few months ago, and as soon as I bought it, it's one of those items that has always stayed as a front runner. This is the shade called Tan Lines, and this is how much I enjoy it. When I buy my products, I buy them to use them. I don't believe in keeping fine china in a cabinet never to be used. I believe in enjoying life and enjoying what you have. So this is Tan Lines, and this is described as a more neutral, cool leaning one. And you can see here, I'm just adding a little bit here. This feels very silky. It also looks incredibly silky and luminous on the skin. On the skin, this looks like that sun-kissed glow, like I just came in from somewhere on the Mediterranean, or, you know, just enjoying a park outside in the summer. It looks very effortless and it looks very healthy. It has a little bit of gold to it, but not too much, which is nice. And then we have what I am wearing today. On top of my drunk elephant, I am wearing the new Chanel Les Beiges from this summer, and I'm wearing the compact medium rose gold. So this is a trio. Technically, this is a highlighter, a bronzer, and a blush. I like to mix these 2 together. I swirl them for the bronzer, and then I add a little bit of this beautiful medium rose gold. What I'll do is, once I swirl the 2 together, I will take the golden highlighter and put it on top of my cheekbones and pop the blush on top here. So this, I mean, I hope the swatch looks decent here. I'm sort of running out of room on my arm, but I love this palette. It's really quite pretty. Honestly, the blush is what has sold me on it. It's a beautiful, warm rose gold with gold reflection. You can sort of see the gold reflection here in the highlighter. And the bronzer is a little bit warm because Chanel does not believe in neutral or cool leaning bronzers for whatever reason, but I do think that it is very pretty, and I just love the harmony mixed together. But since Chanel does not exist or does not believe in neutral or cool leaning blushes, we must look to Tom Ford Terra. I think that this is one of the most hidden, underappreciated gems in the luxury beauty world, because this bronzer here, Terra, is truly neutral, cool leaning. I'm going to pack on as much as I can here and try to show you a nice, generous swatch. And you will see that compared to a lot of this, it is the most, or one of the most, neutral and cool leaning bronzers. Just put a little bit more here, but you can sort of see that some of these end up looking a little bit more red and warm compared to Tom Ford Terra. Maybe I'll do a swatch at the top of my hand here so you can sort of see. I'm not sure if my strategy has worked, but trust me. Okay, maybe I'll put it down here actually. It's just much more neutral than any of the other brands. I'm not sure why, but brands like Chanel and Dior really seem to have an aversion to any bronzer that isn't excessively warm, which leads us to our next category of cool versus neutral. So what I did is I did like my most warm and my most cool leaning bronzers. We'll actually go back to the most cool right away because I love cool toned bronzers and they rarely exist. Technically, cool toned tends to be more for contour because if you think of contour, contour is shadow and shadow tends to be more cool leaning than warm. But you can still use more neutral or cool leaning products in the same places you would use bronzer. I still have bronzer on my arm here. Hold on a second. I thought that I had gotten all of it. Anyway, you can still use more cool leaning products. So the first one here would be the Charlotte Tilbury Contour Wand in light medium. This one here is quite cool toned. It's very neutral, cool leaning, which is nice. So if you are into that sort of thing, I am on the hunt constantly for anything more cool leaning. So rest assured, if more come out on the market, I'll let you know. We also have the Makeup by Mario serum here, the bronzing serum. So this will be more cool, neutral leaning. This one here is just, it's very, very sheer. I did a pretty generous swatch here, but when you actually blend it onto the skin, it really almost looks, it is your skin but better, but in a very natural way. This is great as a primer, but if you actually wanted to use this for bronzer, I would say go at least one shade up of what you think you need because they're just very, very sheer. Next up would be the Westman Atelier Contour Stick in Biscuit. This one here is perfectly cool toned. It's just so nice. And it is very creamy. It doesn't drag, it doesn't skip across the skin. So it feels really lovely when you apply it. It just glides quite nicely. I quite like this one. And the top one for the neutral leaning category would be the Tom Ford Terra bronzer. And this one here, I think really finds the perfect balance of neutral leaning, but it's not too cool at the same time. I feel very comfortable using this as a bronzer. It never looks gray or weird on the skin. It just looks like a perfect balance and it just really rounds out our neutral cool leaning category here. Now for the most warm, that would be the Dior Forever Natural in number 5 here. This one here, yeah, it's too warm for me. And honestly, some people like a warm bronzer. If you do, this one here would be for you, number 5 from Dior. It's just too warm for me. And that would be followed very closely with the Chanel Maxi bronzer in Sunbath. This one here is too deep and too warm. 2 in 1. Multi-purpose in that sense. Oof, sort of falling all over the counter. Oh well, I'll clean this up afterwards. But yeah, these ones are just too warm for me. Next up would be the Chantecaille Real Skin in Real Skin? Chantecaille Future, what is it called? Chantecaille something. Chantecaille Real Bronze. I swear I am awake this morning. The Chantecaille Real Bronze in Goa. The texture is beautiful. The finish is nice. It's really just, it's a bit too deep and too reddish on me, but it might be better for someone else. And then the last one would be the Gucci bronzer. Gucci number 3. Yeah, I don't know. Just compared to everything else I have, for me, this is just too warm. Moving on, we have most luminous, most matte. We then have multi-purpose, and then we have the most disappointing. So the most luminous, surprisingly, is the Gucci bronzer number 3. Even though this is not for me, it actually is incredibly luminous. When I apply it, I can see radiance. There is a luminosity quality there. It's just the shade. It's really just the shade for me. I should have gone with something more neutral leaning, but it is quite luminous if you want that. Next up would also be the Chantecaille bronzer here in Serena. This one here, I like the tone much more than Goa. And this is luminous. You can see it has that sun-kissed glow to it, which is quite nice, which is the exact same as the RMS Beauty in Tan Lines. These all have that, I just came in from the sun, like glowing bronzer quality to them. They all have that. It's very fine. It's very finely milled. You won't really look like you're wearing glitter or anything garish like that. And rounding off the most luminous would be the Chanel Sunset bronzer here. This one here, I really wish they would bring it back. You can see that I'm not hitting pan. I think this may also be turning hard pan, sadly. But this one here is also very luminous, and a lot of Chanel bronzers do have that quality. It's this very fine, lit from within, healthy glow quality, sort of baked inside the bronzer. And in my opinion, these would be the most luminous bronzers that I own. Let's move on to matte. For the most matte, I would say that the Dior Forever Natural is very matte. It doesn't really have that same luminosity that we talked about in some of the other products, and the same goes for the Chanel in Sunbath here. Both of them are just a little bit flat compared to the other ones. Like they're there, these are pretty generous swatches, but you're not going to get that glow, that lit from within healthiness that I often look for when I use a bronzer. I want not quite a highlighter, but something very radiant at the same time. Okay, next category is multi-purpose. So these are bronzers that could be used as bronzers and blush, bronzers and primers, or also best for travel, just an item that is multi-purpose. So starting off here is the Chanel Cream Bronzer here, the number 390. So this is technically a bronzer. However, you could use a big kabuki brush or a big round like face brush and apply this first. You don't have to use this solely as a bronzer. Just use a very sheer wash all over the skin. It creates a really beautiful, healthy, natural primer. A lot of people don't know this, but it's a wonderful primer instead of just a bronzer. And then you could do like just a very light wash, spot conceal, mascara, and then just use a little bit more on the high points of the cheek just to emphasize the bronzer. That would be a great product for that. Same goes for Makeup by Mario. It is not my favorite product here, but it is a good multi-use product because you technically have the pump up here, so you could just do a full face, and then if you wanted to do sort of spot contour, you do have the wand here. It would be very sheer, but if you want it for the purposes of travel, very you but better, Makeup by Mario would be a good option for that. However, these two products here, the Dior Healthy Glow from this summer and the Guerlain Terracotta, I think both of these would be maybe better options because you can almost do a full face with this because you do get bronzer, blush, and a little bit of luminosity highlighter mixed in. Honestly, when I wear either one of these, I tend to wear only this on my face. I don't use an extra blush or an extra highlighter. I use just this for everything, for, you know, this shape here. That's all I do. That's all I use when I use these products here. So they're great multi-purpose. Both of these would be in the coral clementine shade family, but they're great. They're great for travel if you want a multi-purpose one product only. Next up would be either the Chantecaille Sheer Glow Bronze or the Drunk Elephant Bronzing Drops. Both of these I use as primers. You could use them like spot to sort of emphasize as a bronzer, but I just love them as a beautiful primer. I think they give me that healthy glow. For travel, I would go with the Drunk Elephant ones just because they're easier than having to scoop out the product, but I think they're both great. Just a question of your taste. And then rounding off this category here would be the Chanel Medium Rose Gold. This is great for travel. It is oversized, which is a little annoying for travel, but for the purpose of one palette for a full face, it is wonderful for that. You really can do everything. This could go on your eyes as well. You could just get everything done with just one product, which is why it's there. And now I think we're actually at the end of today's video. Wow, okay, never thought we'd make it. Here we are. The most disappointing bronzer here. So this is from Guerlain, and I didn't even mention it in the powders because I didn't even think it was worth mentioning. This is the Guerlain Terracotta and Golden Leopard. I purchased this one in either a fall or I believe a holiday collection. It looked so enticing. I purchased this online. It looks beautiful. I mean, it looks fine. There's nothing wrong with it. However, online when I bought it, I did not realize there was a very fine print that said that there was this beautiful highlighter overspray. The first time that I used it, it disappeared. I did not notice the fine print, and if I missed it, I'm sure a lot of people missed it as well. And that's the reason why it's here. I mean, it's a beautiful bronzer, but I have a million others. This is what the swatch looks like. It looks fine, but I was just so turned off by the overspray that dissipated and disappeared instantly after one use that I really haven't used it since then because I've just been so turned off by it. But anyway, this is my ultimate guide, ultimate ranking, all the categories, the shades, the finishes, the textures. Let me know if I missed anything. I'm sure I did. I tried my best. I've had so many comments and responses. Almost all of them said swatches, comparisons, so I think that helped, and some ranking. I ranked all the different categories. If you'd like to see like an ultimate ranking of like maybe just the top 5, maybe just the top 10, maybe just top 5, let me know in the comments and I could do that maybe next week or the week after. It is summer, it is a bronzer season. I'm starting to get warm in here. I have all the lights on me. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed it. I'm sure you did. This has been fun because bronzer is fun. It's a fun summertime makeup product. I could also maybe do a video on bronzer brushes, a bronzer application, because there were a couple of comments saying they weren't sure how to apply the bronzer or which, I was going to say utensils, which tools to use. So leave comments like that down below if you want to see that. Anyway, that is all I have for you guys for today. Thank you so much for stopping by. Hope you have a beautiful day, and I'll see you next time. Bye.